Hey, I'm Abby and welcome back to the Life Work Balance YouTube channel. Recently, someone reached out to me via DM on Instagram and they said that they are graduating soon from college and they're looking for a new job. So they wanted to know if I had any advice to give them. So if you are in the position where you are graduating from college or university soon, or you know someone who is, this video is for you. Before we jump into that, please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you're looking forward to hearing my 4 tips on what you should do if you're about to graduate. And if you haven't already, please remember to go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well as the bell so that you can receive life work balance advice delivered directly to you every Sunday. All right, so like I said, I have 4 tips for you or someone you know if you're in the position, if you are graduating soon and you're looking for a new job or even your first job. So these 4 tips are things that you need to do now before you graduate in order to set yourself up for success in the job search and even hiring process. So the very first thing I recommend you do is start working on your master resume. Now, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I have a whole video on how to create a master resume. I've linked to it in the description box below, and I've also put it in the cards up above. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about, finish watching this video and then go watch that video. You want to start the master resume creation process now if you don't already have a master resume. So if you are in college or university and you have never had a job before, or you've had some kind of part-time gigs but you've never really needed a full-blown professional resume, you need to start building one right now. So while there are many different aspects of a master resume that you could potentially include, these are the ones that probably most apply to you as a recent graduate. So you would want to include at least the following areas in your master resume if they are applicable. So the first is list all of the different classes that you've taken. So when you're creating your master resume, which also, by the way, I have a free master resume template available for you to download directly from my website. I've linked to that in the description box below. So please check that out if you don't even know where to start when it comes to formatting. But once you have graduated, you are going to want your education proudly displayed at the top of your resume. So you will have the university or the college that you've attended, you'll have your degrees that you've earned, and then you will have the relevant courses and relevant projects on that resume that you submit to a job application. On your master resume, you want all of that information listed, not just the relevant courses or projects. So make sure you have your transcripts available when you're creating this master resume. You want to list every single course you took in your higher education. Once you've listed those courses, you also want to list any projects that you worked on within those courses. So you would have 2 different sections. One section for courses, one section for projects. In the project section, you would want to list the project, maybe list the relevant course that it was associated with, and then maybe even give yourself a brief description of that project so that you aren't racking your brain later trying to remember what that project was for. Now, I'm going to take a little back step. When it comes to your master resume, this is something that is only for you. This is not something that you would send to an employer. Your master resume is a historical document for you to really show the depth and breadth of your experience only for your eyes. Your master resume will be way too large as you start to gain additional experience and maybe even additional education. And there will be a lot of irrelevant information on this resume for a potential employer. So you will use your master resume to create a tailored resume. And the tailored resume is what you would submit to a potential employer. So your master resume should have as much information about your educational and professional background as possible. This is why I recommend including all of the courses that you took in your higher education, all of the projects that you worked on in your higher education, because some of those courses and some of those projects might relate directly to a job that you're applying to when you don't have direct work experience in that field. So start off your master resume by looking at your transcripts, writing all of the courses that you've taken, and think back to all of the different projects that you've worked on in all of those different courses and document them now. The other things that you may want to include on your master resume as a recent graduate would be any groups that you were a part of. Maybe you were a part of a fraternity or a sorority. Maybe you were a part of an academic club or group. List all of those groups on your master resume. You'll also want to list any volunteer work that you participated in and any paid work. Maybe you had a paid job on campus. Maybe you had a paid job off campus. So you'll want to list those different things on your master resume as well. Other things that might fit on your master resume would include internships. So this might be a paid internship or an unpaid internship. Any research that you may have participated in, and any awards or certificates or recognition that you received during your higher education experience. Now that is just a very limited amount of things that you could potentially include on your master resume. Those are a little bit more tailored towards a recent graduate, but again, I highly recommend that you check out my video on master resumes when you're in this creation process. I go in depth into all of the different areas that you should include on a master resume if they apply to you. And like I mentioned earlier, I also have that free template on my website that you can use to download and kind of use as a place to start. So first and foremost, the number one thing that you should do if you are starting the job search process as a up-and-coming graduate or a recent graduate is create your master resume. Your master resume will then be used to create a tailored resume for those jobs you actually start applying to. The second tip I have for you is to start to build and identify your network. Now, you've probably heard the saying, it's all about who you know, it's not about what you know. And unfortunately, that still is pretty true. If this is your first job, this is especially true. Who you know can really open up many doors and opportunities for you for this first job. You might be able to build your professional network through opportunities like internships or other work, whether it's volunteer work or paid work. Another way that you can start to build your professional network is join professional groups or associations. Now, these might be student groups at first, or these might be larger professional groups. For example, I am currently a part of a professional association at the state level here in the United States that is also a national association, and we offer student memberships. So there are students who join our association, they get a discounted rate on their membership, and they're able to get their foot in the door to start networking with other professionals in the human resources industry. So start to build your network. Write a list of all of the people who you know, and then maybe pick a couple who you can start to explore or pick their brains about who they might know, who is in an industry or a job that excites you or interests you. You'll be able to use that network to your advantage to really start to meet people and start to gain insight into the different opportunities that are in that industry or in that field. They may even be able to connect you to a special job that might not be available publicly. So there are many opportunities that having a robust professional network will actually allow you to tap into. The third tip that I have is to start doing some research on the different organizations, jobs, or even industries that interest you. There are millions of organizations out there, and if not hundreds of millions of different jobs out there. So I also recommend trying some of those as early as possible so that you can decide if this is a good fit for you or not. For example, I thought I wanted to be a physical therapist. So I was getting my undergraduate degree in physiology, thinking that was the route that I wanted to go. Then I did an internship with a physical therapist, and I actually decided, you know what? This is not for me. I like the medical side of things, I like the anatomy and the physiology side of things, but I can't see myself doing this on a daily basis. So I was able to pivot, and I was able to then change my career trajectory. So don't commit yourself to an organization, a job, or an industry until you've tried it out. You may get your first paid job in this organization or this industry or the specific job and make that decision later that, this is not for me. And that's also okay. You want to try as many things as possible to really narrow down your focus to find the job that is going to be the best fit for you. So do your research on the different industries out there. Do your research on the different jobs out there and the different organizations that exist within those industries that also have those jobs. Then try to get your foot in the door. One way to do this is through LinkedIn. So if you don't have a LinkedIn profile already, create one. You will essentially use the information from your master resume and put that into your LinkedIn profile. So those two go hand in hand. Use LinkedIn to do research on the different industries, the different jobs, and the different organizations. find people who are doing those jobs in those organizations and in those industries and reach out to them. Maybe conduct a quick 10 or 15-minute informational interview where you reach out to them and ask them questions about how they got into this field, what they like most about it, what they wish was different about it. When you can learn a little bit more about the people who are working in this industry, that will give you good insight into if this would be a good fit for you or not. And then finally, my fourth tip is to just start applying. You don't necessarily want to start applying 6 months before you graduate necessarily, though sometimes that is beneficial. But you do want to start applying at least a month before you graduate because the hiring process can take that long, if not longer. There are also jobs that are specifically for recent college graduates. For example, the federal government has jobs that are specifically for recent college grads. Those aren't the only jobs out there though, and you don't have to limit yourself to a job that's just for a recent college grad. Really, the world is your oyster. You can pick any job that you'd like to apply to and apply to it. But the key is you need to apply to it sooner rather than later because the hiring process for most organizations takes 50 to 60 days. That's 2 months of your time when you've applied to when they've actually hired someone. So start the application process before you actually graduate. Most industries don't need you to start applying a semester before you graduate. There are some jobs, like for example, federal jobs, that can take 3 months, 4 months, or longer for the application process. So start doing your research as soon as possible on the different types of jobs, industries, and organizations, and that will also give you an idea of the types of timelines that are required for the application process. So just start applying. Once you've got your master resume, once you've done your research, once you've started to build that professional network, there's no better time to start applying than now. So hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, please remember to go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, or ideas, like if you are a recent college grad or if you've been a recent college grad and you have some additional ideas or experience that you'd like to share with other viewers, please put them in the comments box below. I love receiving comments. I respond to each of them individually, so if you do leave me a comment, I will get back to you as quickly as I'm able. And if you haven't already, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well as the bell so that you can receive life-work balance advice delivered directly to you every Sunday. Thanks, and I'll see you next week.